As we had discussed in the previous videos, the Major Arcana represents cycles of psychological and spiritual transformation that take place in our lives as we encounter difficulties and other archetypal energies that are just a normal part of life. A lot of us consider these to be tests, and really the purpose of them is to push us outside of our comfort zone. If we think about life in terms of why do we suffer? Why do we suffer in life, right? The reason why it is that we seem to suffer, and the tarot makes this very explicit to us, is that suffering is a part of our growth. The truth of the matter is that we typically don't grow when we're in our comfort zone. We don't usually go and pick the most difficult thing to do. We don't do the thing that makes us step so far out of our comfort zone and grow into the next evolutionary cycle unless we're really pushed into it, right? A lot of us are not going to choose discomfort over comfort, especially in a society like today where everything is, it's so easy, it's so convenient. But this is actually the way it is that life evolves and how consciousness evolves. Consciousness evolves through evolution. You know, if you go back and look at evolutionary history, everything in this universe started out from a single cell, and it has grown in complexity over time into what it is now. And so every single one of us is living that process of evolution on a microcosmic scale. Or, as we mentioned before, as above, so below, as within, so without. So our lives reflect this same process of evolution. And as our consciousness expands, it ripples outwards and it influences the lives of those around us, since we're all interconnected. So to continue with this idea that we need to understand the overall structure of the tarot and the Mandela-like structure of the tarot in order to be able to understand all 78 of the cards, we're now going to look at one of the other esoteric sciences, which will help us organize what it is that we've already learned into something that is more comprehensive and that will actually help us whenever we go into understanding the minor arcana cards. The Kabbalah is known as the ladder to God, or the tree of life. And this is, it has roots in esoteric Jewish traditions. I'm not going to really get into the history of it, because you don't really need to know that in order to understand what it's trying to convey. Okay, so let's take a look at the tree of life, and let's see what we can decipher just from looking at it at a glance. Right away, it should jump out to you that just like we had in the 2 previous analysis videos, where we were looking at a cycle in terms of 10 cards representing a cycle, we can see here that we have 3 pillars with 10 spheres that are located on these 3 pillars, okay? And there's actually another one, there's actually an 11th sphere, which is grayed out. It's actually right underneath Katir. It's called Dot. And that one it's grayed out because it's not really considered a Sephiroth. It's not considered an emanation. But we'll get to that here in a minute as we look into it, as we go further into the analysis. Now, essentially what you have is you have a representation of the divine mind at the very top. This is Katir. And at the very bottom we have Malkuth, which is our physical reality. And essentially, Katir manifests in multiple different ways before it reaches our physical reality, before it becomes something that we can tangibly touch and feel. And so it goes through a zigzag-like pattern as it goes down through these different spheres to reach Malkuth. And each one of these is creating another aspect of duality, right? So we could think of the top sphere as oneness, the absolute. It is the drop of water returning back into the ocean. whereas everything in between is adding a different, I guess you could say, a characteristic, a different aspect of the self. And this is what it is that's really interesting about the tarot, is that the tarot is really reflecting to us the multifaceted nature of the self, of our own inner being. And this is represented not only in the fact that we have 10 spheres here that will be putting the 10 previous cards onto these different spheres, but we can also see that there's another connection, which is that there's direct paths that link each one of these different spheres together. You can see them as blue lines, green lines, and red lines that connect these different Sephiroth. And each one of those is associated with a specific Hebrew letter. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and there are 22 Major Arcana cards. So you can already see that there's like these very clear connections between the two. This black and white pillar with the middle pillar in between, this is also another biblical symbolism, which we will get into later when we actually are looking at the cards, because this is something it is that repeats throughout the tarot, right? So on the left we have the pillar of severity, and in the middle we have the pillar of neutrality, and on the right we have the pillar of mercy, right? So these all have to do with different attitudes towards life, but it doesn't necessarily mean good and bad. So force would be what is associated with the pillar of mercy. And this has to do with expansion. It is an active energy. It is like a motion. It is action, right? Whereas the left pillar, which is the pillar of severity, represents form, it represents constraint, it represents feminine energy and a structural limitation, right? But to even say that they're masculine and feminine energies may not make sense whenever we actually look at the tarot and we actually start to place the cards, because what we'll see is that sometimes they don't line up all the way in terms of gender. So it's more about understanding them in terms of active and passive energies. Because you can have a masculine card, which is like, such as the Emperor, that is actually a passive card, right? The Emperor is all about stability. It's about drawing boundaries around things. And that is a kind of passive energy. Whereas the card of the Empress is much more of an active energy. It's an outgoing energy, right? So just because something is, has a feminine character or a masculine character, that doesn't necessarily tell you where it is that they're going to be placed on the tree of life. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go through and I'm going to explain the meanings behind each one of these spheres. And I'm going to try not to mispronounce the Hebrew words, but if I do, please forgive me. I'm just a dude on the internet. But once we go through and we explain these different spheres and what it is that they represent, then it'll be much more clearer to us how it is that we can arrange the tarot cards it is that we've already understood onto the Tree of Life. And then from there, we'll be able to really understand how to organize the rest of the cards in the minor arcana onto the Tree of Life itself, right? So at the very top we have Keter. And this is, like I mentioned before, it's the crown. It's associated with the crown chakra. All of these could be said to be associated with different chakras as well. And we'll go through that as we're doing this as well. So this is associated with the crown chakra. It's the monad, the divine source, everything in existence that emanates from source. So it's the state of infinite potential, right? So we already have this idea in our head that it's associated with the magician, and it's not a coincidence that this is the first sphere, right? So we could say this is number one. And it is a cosmic consciousness. It's the highest level of awareness. And then on the next sphere down, which, like I said a moment ago, it goes in a zigzag, kind of like a lightning strike. That's how it is that the path is down to the bottom, right? Whereas the path from Malkuth to the top is actually the middle pillar. It's just a straight line all the way up, right? Which is really interesting. Okay, so every time it is that there's that the divine mind goes into one of these spheres, it's basically representing another aspect of the duality of self, right? So Chokmah is the second sphere, and it represents wisdom. And this has to do with the beginnings of something. It has to do with the directionality of things. It has to deal with expansion. It has to deal with what we do with what it is that we know. Binah is the next one, and this is the third, and it represents understanding. And this is the beginning of existence taking form. You can think of it as form itself being represented in 3 dimensions. This is where we start to see duality come into play and the internal qualities of knowing. Chesed is the fourth one, and this is the duality materializes into something that is structured and stable, right? Again, we can already start to see how it is that these cards are going to fall into this order, because the Emperor is the 4th card, and here we are looking at Chesed, which is representing structure, stability, order, kindness. It's also associated with the throat chakra, which is meant to influence and inspire. It can either create fear in people or it can enlighten them. Geburah is the next sphere, and this is severity in motion. So we can think of this as the friction and the challenges it is that one has to go through in order to ascend. These are qualities that need to be put into control. This has to do with self-mastery and sovereignty, and this is also associated with the throat chakra, which is why it is that they're on the same level. We can then see that there's this one called Teferet, which is right in the middle of the sphere. It's the first sphere we get in the middle, outside of Dot, which is actually the soul. Dot is actually meant to be the soul, and this is the entrance point that we actually enter into the tree of life. Okay, so that's why it's grayed out, and it's not really considered to be on the tree of life itself, because it's not a direct emanation of one of the qualities of the divine mind. Just in the same way it is that when we put the Fool card, whenever we looked at the first set of Major Arcana cards, we put that aside, right? Because the Fool is the one that actually travels through the Major Arcana. It passes through the different levels of the Major Arcana. In the same way, the Fool, which is represented as Dot, is going to be the one that enters into the tree and then makes its path through to back to the cosmic consciousness, right? But outside of that, we have the card, the sphere Teferet, which is our 6th sphere, and this represents the quality of love, beauty, communication with the higher self. It has to do with the care qualities of the heart, and likewise, it has the most connections. And one could even say that this is the reason why that is because everything emanates from the heart. Our experience of our life, it emanates from the heart. It has to do with the energy it is that we have inside of us, and how it is that we're actually expressing that energy, right? And obviously the heart is often associated with Jesus, astrotheologically. And we can see that whenever we look at some of the symbols later on, we'll see that the sun symbol is always associated with the heart, right? And so, of course, it's going to also be associated with the heart chakra itself. The next sphere is called Netzach, and this is victory. This is victory through desire. It is the push to make something happen. It is all about willpower and taking action in the world. And this is another one of these dualistic chakras, and it represents the solar plexus. Hod is the next one, and that is representing glory. It's representing intellect, letting go and letting things flow. It's all about surrender, and this has to do with your courage. It has to do with following your gut through uncertainty. And again, since this is on the same level as the previous sphere, this is associated with the solar plexus. The next one that is right above the earth is called Yesod, and this is the foundation. This is like the unconsciousness, the unconscious filter that we actually perceive the world through. And so this is associated with the sacrum chakra. And this is all about wanting to connect to something beyond the physical. It is the desire for knowledge, the desire to be initiated, the desire to grow past the base desires, right? And then finally we have Malkuth, which is the kingdom, which is the front stage of reality. It is the completion of all of the elements that have been represented in all the previous stages. And it's the base of the tree. It's the foundation of the tree. And so this has to do with the base chakra.